All right, folks, it's June 4th, and we're going to do the monthly update for the field. The potatoes are pretty well filled out. Some of the varieties are flowering. We just tilled those last week and looking good, nice and clean. Peppers, we put the end posts in, but we haven't started tying those. They're still hanging out. It's been a little cold, but they're all on the ground. Tomatoes, strings got put up last week with wires. We'll be starting to train those this week up the strings. A couple of beds, 3 beds hanging out for late season brassicas. The broccoli is still coming along. Collards that got harvested for today's share. Got some cabbage. You can see the Napa cabbage in the back there that bolted on us, so it was a crop failure there, and this was choy up front, and that's been gone for a few weeks now. Kale that we've been harvesting off of. There's some water going on the lettuces right now. Lettuce is looking good. We had a little burning on the outside leaves, so we're giving out hearts this week and kind of doubling up on that. We've got a little bit of extra lettuce. This is where the radishes and turnips have been coming from, and we've had a really good season of arugula. That's all regrowth on one bed of arugula, and more covered space, more arugula that's germinating there. Got Martin wheel hoeing the corn, beans, and squash, which have all come up nicely. We'll be thinning the corn and the squash out. We kind of leave the beans at full density. Down here at the bottom we had an extra bed, so we stuck the eggplant down here this year. Maybe some heat will reflect back off of that hoop house. Let's see, let's look inside the hoop house. The 3 beds on the right, those are all finished. Those were early lettuce and spinach. And so they've got some Sudan grass coming up in them right now. We won't do anything with them for the summer, but we'll go back to greens for the fall. Basil, which we've already been pinching. Tomatoes that got string last week, and we'll start tying those. And the inside cucumbers are being trained up. We didn't have a way to do our normal string technique, so we hung some panels. We'll see whether or not those panels work out or if we need to reinforce that. Down at the bottom of E here, got the onions. Onions are looking good. Green onions have been coming from that back corner back there. 1 row of leeks over here on the right. Turn around now. So here's the cherry tomatoes this year. We're going to have the cherry tomatoes as you pick for the CSA, which we had in the past, but this time it'll be closer. And the herb bed, you pick herb bed, is looking good. We'll actually open that up probably this week or next week. There's sage and oregano and thyme and chives and lovage in there, and then we've been planting more stuff in the old kids garden, so cut flowers, sunflowers. There's parsley that's looking great, and we'll probably harvest some of that next week for the CSA. There's a bunch of cut flowers and culinary herbs. Tim's back there washing for the CSA this week. I'm just going to walk up this way past. You can see the pea trellis. The peas are just poking along. There are lots and lots of fruit on there, but it's not quite ready yet. So we have we've got snow peas, but the snap peas will probably hang out until the end of this week or next week before we start really picking those. This is the summer squash and cucumbers. We had a little bit of trouble with fungus gnat in the greenhouse, so the transplants weren't the strongest. We reseeded those. They went in a little bit late. We got some more leeks up here. Favas, those are going to be ready to harvest in a few weeks. Though you can see the ones on the right are a little bit taller because we took greens off the ones on the left, which I don't think are going to actually impact the bean harvest, but we'll see. Carrots are coming along really nicely, the earliest carrots. So hopefully that'll be in the share in the next couple of weeks. That was spinach in that empty bed, and that'll be carrots again. I'm seeding those probably this afternoon. There's another planting of carrots. A dog or something must have come and dragged the irrigation line because And you can see where in the middle of the bed there they took out a bunch of the newly germinated seedlings. A little bit more spinach. Hopefully that spinach will hold on for a couple weeks. Looks like some of it's bolting, but that was transplanted. It's half and half transplanted and direct seeded. I've got some celeriac on the right and celery in the middle, and then parsnips. The parsnips came up a little thin, so I'm going to reseed an extra line today on those. And then the final section, section G, I've got 3 beds hanging out for some late plantings of beets. And then the pole beans. Pole beans came up a little thinner than I'd like, so I reseeded some of those today. The water's on right now. We've got bush beans. They got a little burned by some boron application, but they're coming back from that. The beets and the chard loved the boron, and they are looking really good. So we've got some 3-root grex there on the right, and then over here on the left we've got some red beets, some Shiraz that we're going to start harvesting next week. The fennel is going out this week, so you can see the fennel bed. So that's it for what's in the fields right now, and we'll see you next month.